Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Melissa, and this is my channel Geeky Witch about all things cross-stitch in my life. Today is the 24th of July, 2022. It has been a very warm to hot week here in Rhode Island. I'm hoping that I can get through this before my lack of air conditioning hits me, because we do not have central air, so I have a box unit here in my office, but it's really loud. So to film, I kind of have to shut it off. It's been about 2 months since I did a proper stitching update. I did do an unboxing a couple of weeks ago for the Frogwarts box, but I haven't shown anything since just before Stitch Mania of what I've been working on and plans and that kind of thing. It's just been crazy. Absolutely crazy. Everything's fine. It's just the late spring into early summer is my busiest season at work. We were down a person in my team. It's the end of the school year. We've been doing a few travel trips here and there on weekends, and so the weekends when I can film just kind of got taken up, and all of a sudden here it is, the end of July. It's like, whoa, okay, let me sit down and do something. So I also have a buddy here with me today. This is Toby. Toby is the second to most recent cat that has joined our horde. He came in last year in 2021 on July 4th. He was a feral cat outside who was an intact male. He looked like he had been in a few fights and was in kind of rough shape. So we were just doing the humanitarian thing, trapping him, wanted to make sure he got checked out, get him neutered so that we don't have more cats showing up, which always happens because we live near a large park and there's a couple of colonies of cats in this general area. He wound up kind of liking being an indoor cat, and although he still has a few feral tendencies, you probably noticed in a few of my videos over the past year where I've had weird scratches on my arms. Yeah, that's from him. He's wound up becoming a pretty good house cat. He's a bit of a loner. He still has a bit of that fight or flight thing that feral cats do, but he's calmed down quite a bit. I can pet him, he sits on my lap, and he likes to just hang out here in my office with me whenever I'm here at my desk. He has had this box since last year, about this time. I think I put this exact box on my desk, and he hangs out all day with me. So he's down for his nap. I don't know if he's going to wake up and turn around so you can see him, but he is about 2 years old. He's about 18 pounds, solid muscle. We call him the furry cinder block. And he is a tuxedo. So he's got all white paws, black, a little bit of, the blaze down the belly, and he's got little black freckles on his back feet. He's a very cute boy. So he's keeping me company today. All right, so it's been 2 months. Lots to show you. We're going to start with, of course, the big thing, which is I have a massive finish. If you follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, you know about this already probably, but hey, I got to show it here too. And then it's going to get framed because I want to put it into the fair this year. Witch's Wheel is done. I still have it on the hoop because I'm trying to just lightly stretch it to get some of the sharper fold marks out of the center, and it looks like they're coming out pretty well before I iron it and then take it over to the framing shop. But this is Witch's Wheel by Glennon Place. I started this in 2011. My guess is I probably started this, I only have 2011, but I'm pretty sure I started this as a New Year's Day start. It is stitched on the called for Picture This Plus Solar in 32 count. All of the black is DMC stitches, and anything that is not a black stitch is a Mill Hill bead. Completely done as charted. I'm sure I have a couple of error stitches in here, but yeah, I'm very proud of this one. And I was a little worried as I started getting some of these beads in. I'm like, ooh, is this going to look good? Because, you know, when you only have a few of the beads on, it looks kind of funny when the beads are sticking up above the stitches. But now that it's done, I'm super, super happy with it. Really, really happy with it. So I finished this in late June, and I am going to be taking it this week over to the framer. I've never done any framing on my own, and I do have a couple of pieces I do want to try it, but something like this with beads where the weights can be kind of funny and whatnot, I would rather that a professional do it. And we have a framing store near Stitch New England, which is Pam's store in North Attleboro, who does specifically lists needlework framing, and they do lacing and pinning and whatnot. So I'm going to take it to those guys to get framed. I am planning on just a basic square frame, black. I don't want anything too fancy because obviously there's a lot going on here. And you know, the work needs to show off for itself. It obviously will need spacers because of the beads, so that the glass that I put over it is not hitting everything. But yeah, I'm super, super, super happy with how this turned out. So this is Glen in Place. This piece is still being published, and they recently did another project. They just released something for Halloween, and it actually pulled one of these witch faces, and they redid it again in the new piece. So, but a fun piece. I'm not really a stitcher who prefers stitching everything in one color, so I think that's really what hung me up and took me so long to get this going, was because it's like it's all black, and I just have a short attention span with some of that. But when I really got in the groove on it, it was a fun stitch. And last time I think I mentioned that I had some stitching errors in it. I did go back and I corrected those, and fixed, it was one of the hats, I think it was this one over here. I just had to move it over like a stitch. I just had it off by one row to fix it so that the beads sat right. And trying to think if there's any. Oh, my stitching, when I put beads on, the Mill Hill beads, I prefer to do mine at an angle, so it kind of matches the top leg of my stitches. I have done some pieces where I keep them square up and down. If you want to do them on an angle, you just put one stitch through. If you want them to be up and down or sideways, you do a full cross stitch through the hole, and that will position it the way you want it to go. They recommended doing the stitches for this in DMC 726, I believe. I think I had 727. I was like one number off, so that it more matched the yellow and oranges rather than the black. And yeah, it came out great. So that's Witch's Wheel. It will be going this week to get framed, and when it's finally framed, I will show you it again before it goes off to the Big E Fair to be entered into the fair this year. Yes, so that's that one. Since I am going to get that framed, let me find a good spot to put that down because it's got that huge hoop. Since I'm getting that framed, I decided that I would take a couple of my other older finished pieces and get those framed as well. Ones that, again, there's pieces that I have no problem doing myself and learning how to frame myself, but there's a couple of pieces that, for sentimental reasons or just because of the weight on the fabric, I would much rather have a professional do. So I'm going to show you those as well. One of them you've seen before, and the other one, if you've stumbled around on the internet looking at round robins, you've probably stumbled across mine. So the first one I'm going to show you is the round robin. This was my Mirabilia round robin that I participated in back in 2011. Again, these are all pre-Max things. Round robins were like all the rage back then. There were a lot of Mirabilia round robins. There were UFO round robins, so people would send one of their unfinished pieces around so other people could help them push it forward. I did that with my Floral Bell Pull by Teresa Wensler. And there were other designers that did round robins as well. We did a band sampler one round robin at one point that came out really, really cool. So, but my Mirabilia is probably my favorite of all of them because it really came out well. And it is heavy because, as you know, Mirabilias have beads on them. I decided for mine to do profiles of all of the queens or other patterns at the time that had the queen profile. Since then, there have been a few others that have been released with that very formal profile, but this was all of the queens at the time, plus I think like one or two that aren't. This is what mine looks like. So there were 8 of us in this round robin, as you can see, and everybody's name is in here. This is on a silk weaver piece. I am afraid I have forgotten the name of the color, but it was old silk weaver. This was from like 2005, 2006. It's 28 count. It's a light, like a sea foam green, not quite a mint. It's a little bit lighter than mint. And at the time, this was all of the queens. So I designed the squares. I actually outlined my patterns of the heads because yes, I own all of these queens. So I made a working copy and then framed them out so everybody working on it would know where to stitch. I let them pick which head they wanted to do. The only 2 heads that I assigned a space for was the Queen of Freedom, and then this is Summer. But because because of how their heads, the width, because of their headpieces, they needed to be there in the center. Everybody else could just kind of place as they chose, and by sheer chance, everyone was kind of looking in towards the center. The one queen I stitched was down here. This is one of the mermaids, and I just flipped her and reversed her. She actually, in the chart, faces the other direction, but just to balance it out. And like I said, this one's heavy. And so glittery. I mean, you could see all of the beads on this thing. So I want to get this framed. Obviously, I've had it for a long time. I finished my square on this in July of 2012, just as I was pregnant with Max. And it's quietly been sitting in my completed project roll all this time. And it is time for it to get up on my wall. So that is that. If you've never done a round robin, a lot of people get justifiably worried about, you're sending a piece out into the world. The key is you got to work with people that you know, that you trust, and communication is key. You got to have a set date where everybody sends their stuff off, whether they've finished a square or not. You can always go back after the round robin is finished for someone to finish up their square or have the original owner finish it up. But you got to have deadlines. They have to be clear cut from the beginning. Everyone needs to stay in contact, and hopefully the mail works for you. In this case, mine was stitched on folks from the US, Canada, England, Australia, and New Zealand. We had quite a few of us floating around. and it just worked. And we all stitched on each other's pieces, so at the end, all 8 of us had a completed piece, and yay, it was cool. So that one will get framed, and again, I don't know what I'm going to choose for a frame for that one. That I have to play with a little bit more than, Witch's Wheel is easy. Black, flat, square, done. This one might need a little bit more. We'll see. I might go gold, but we'll see. There's that one. And the other piece I really want to get done, this may not go right away, but it's going to go soon, is my copy of the castle. This is on 14 count Ada. I am one of those crazy people who did their castle on Ada because that's what it was charted for at the time. There was a little bit of linen out there at the time, but unless you were someone who had access to other experienced stitchers who knew how to work with it, not a lot of people were working with it. A lot of stuff was just charted for Ada. I started this in the early 1990s. I was in high school when I started it. I don't know the exact year. I know the castle was in the magazine at one point. I think it was just cross stitch. And then it was released as a solo chart, and I'm pretty sure I began stitching it from the solo chart, a hand-drawn chart. And I'm thinking it was in 91 or 92, but I could have started this even earlier. It could have been in 1990. It is in all of the called for DMCs, and yeah. I finished this in 2006. It found its way into a storage box by accident during one of the many moves after college, and I've totally forgot about it for a few years. So, but it is now done. I do want to try to lift. There's a few stains from age on it that I really would like to lift, but I'm kind of afraid to because I don't know how color fast my floss is, because we're talking late 80s, early 90s floss here. But yeah, so I do want to get this professionally framed because it was my first completed Wensler. It was the 3rd piece I ever tried to stitch, and I'm really, really proud of it. And this one was a journey. I mean, this took me from high school through college, through buying a house, and just before my marriage. So huge swath of my life spent on that one, and it really should be on the wall. So those are the finishes that I had. Now I will get you to what I've been working on. As you know, I did Stitch Mania. I only did the 20 of 22 pieces that I managed to stitch on. Most of them did not get much done on them because I only stitched on them for a night. So we're talking maybe 50 to 100 stitches. Not really anything worth showing you progress because you can barely see it. I did pick out one piece that I did do a little bit more than that on, and also the pieces that I've been working on after I finished Witch's Wheel, because that was June. Witch's Wheel was all of June. And since then, I've been rotating 4 different pieces for the semi-sane Uno challenge here in July, and that has really helped me get a lot of progress on those 4 pieces. Super happy about it. So, okay, so the one piece that I did get a decent amount of work done on in May was Flying Lesson from Silver Creek Samplers. This is one of the pieces I got in the Black Needle Society trick-or-treat box last year. I just fell in love with it, and Silver Creek is very quickly becoming one of my favorite designers just because they have that slightly snarky, silly attitude. Their pieces are just fun. They're just fun, and they really do have their own look, which I love. So yeah, that's what it looks like done. And here is where I am. And I'm laughing because we got this huge piece of fabric in the box, but when stitched, this is the entire width of the piece here. So, and this is a good chunk of, it probably only goes to about here. So I have a lot of leftover fabric. But this is where I'm at. This is stitched on 18 count Aida from Fiber on a Whim called Hazelwood. Really pretty, like light tan marbled color with just a tiny hint of green. It's coming off, I think, a little more green on the screen. The floss is DMC as charted, and I started this on New Year's Eve this past year as part of my 12 by 12 New Year's Eve challenge. So that's where that is. I've taken a break on it since then because after stitching on Witch's Wheel and being in huge Halloween mode, I needed a little bit of a break, but this is going to be coming back out in August, and I really want to get this done for Halloween. So that's the plan. Okay. So the other 4 pieces that I've been stitching on lately are all for, as I said, the Semi-Sane Stitchers group challenge for July, which is an Uno challenge. And what they did was you picked 4 pieces, or you could stitch monogamous. That's a whole another set of rules, which I'm not following. You picked 4 pieces. You did either a counting or non-counting. I decided to do counting. And then every single day they spun a wheel. If it came up on one of those 4 pieces, you did 100 stitches on that piece for the day. If it came up on draw 2, you picked 2 of your pieces, you did 100 stitches on each. If it came up on wild, you pick 1 piece and you do 200 stitches on it. And then reverse, obviously you just go back and forth, you know, or skip, you bounce, but I don't even think we've had a reverse or skip this month. And then if Uno gets called, you have 24 hours to put 100 stitches in on each of the pieces. You can pause any other challenge, you know, daily challenge for the month, do that Uno, go back to that other challenge. So I'm a few days behind at this point. I was almost caught up last weekend and then was so like burned out on stitching after Frogwarts that I had to just put stuff away for like 3 days. And of course then, you know, the days to get caught up on start piling up. I'm not worried. I'm having a good time and I really don't care. This is all for me and I'm not like part of a team or anything where they're all depending on me. This is just totally for me. And if I have to do counting stitches, this is the way I want to do the challenges. I don't want to do any of that team stuff anymore. So, all right. A couple of these pieces I printed off a black and white. I apologize because I don't have a color copy of the chart finished, but just to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. One of them, it was a complete mystery and I don't even have a full piece to show you. But so the first one is the 2020 mystery sampler. It was called the Family and Friends Quaker from Linens and Threads, also known as Fox and Rabbit Designs. This is what it looks like. This was the December piece, which is why those 2 were highlighted there, because that was what was released for December. But this gives you an idea of what the entire piece looks like. The letters bounced around are family and friends, and I will be adding my own in there later, but that's probably going to be the last thing I do when I finish it, because I want to make sure I place family and friends where I want them. So that's that. All right, I am doing mine on 46 count linen called Toasted Almond from Silkweaver. And I am still in February. I am stitching this over 2 threads with one, over 2 with 1 thread. And I am coloring as I go. It's in 5 different shades of DMC that I have nicknamed Muted Jewel Tones. I just kind of picked out of my stash and decided to just see where they take me. I'm really happy with the colors so far. Really, really happy. Honestly, the one I just finished stitching here, where I just have, you know, the little carnation over here to do, this is my favorite so far. I'm super happy with how that turned out. I was a little worried about my coloring. But that is where that is. I also had this on my whip go board for the year, and I'd hope to get through March. That might be pushing it. It may be February for the year. But regardless, it's a very nice push from where it was at the beginning of the year. So I'm happy with that one. Okay. The next one is my temperature tree. And this is by iStitch. I originally was going to do this for 2021, and then just got tied up on stuff last year with how busy it was at work. So it is now a 2022 temperature tree. This is from Stitchin' Mommy on Etsy. She has a variety of different temperature trees you can do, and different designs, you know, however you kind of want them to look. I really loved the idea of a tree. So again, black and white, but how this works is that every long branch is a month, and then there is a leaf on the tree for every single day, and there's a chart of colors, and it has a range of roughly about like 4 or 5 degrees in Fahrenheit, and or you can convert that how you choose to Celsius, and that day's high becomes the color of the leaf. So I really liked the idea of a tree for the year. I am still working the tree, and I am recording my high temperatures using Weather Underground. The nice thing is that because of the way that Weather Underground does things on their website, you can kind of just pick up a block of a week at a time and just go through and write your daily temperatures, put them down on a calendar, and you're done. And then when you're ready to actually stitch the leaves, then you have all of them at one time, and you could probably get through like a month in an evening. And that's kind of my goal. I'm working the tree branches, and then once I'm done with that, I'll probably just pound out months and then finish December 31st on December 31st. So that it's done for the day. Here is where I am on it. Since the beginning of July, I have done just through the Uno pulls. I was on this branch here, so I've added these 3 branches just through Uno pulls. And I did alter this a little bit. I have a heart down here that will eventually have just like a little back stitched, like I etched it into the tree of the year, just for fun, because it needed a heart on it. This is a very old piece of silk weaver. It's 32 count, called Dreamin', that I'd had in my stash since about 2005, and I will have a nice cut of it left over. I think I was saving this to do like that Mirabilia with the girl on the swing, and then I just decided, you know what, I don't know when I'm gonna get around to that, because I'm not in a Mirabilia stitching mood these days. So I decided to just pick it up for this, because there are plenty of dyers out there that do lovely sky fabric these days. It's probably one of the things people really want. So yeah, that's where I am on that. And with how these calls are going for Uno, I may have a couple more branches on this by the end of next week, and that would be awesome. All right, the third piece I've been working on this month is Coming to America with Thy Needle and Thread, Brenda Gervais. This was released in 2020 for the 400th anniversary of the Mayflower, going to Plymouth, Mass. A lot of people did a stitch along for this in the time that it left Europe and came over to Plymouth. I don't remember the exact number of days, but there were a few people who actually finished it in that time. I was never going to be one of those people. As I said before, I'm a slow stitcher. So, but that was a chart. It was a special edition. I don't know if you can find this anymore, but really, really cute chart. Mine came as a kit, and here is where I am on it. This is on 36 count linen. It is on Ren, but I was not paying attention when I started it, and I have it on the back side of the hand dyed. Oops. I decided, screw it, I don't care. It's gonna look pretty anyway. So this is what I have so far. This month I have been focusing on the Cape Cod sign, and when I get done with that, that will be my whip go goal for the year on this piece as well. Been called a little slower, but that's okay. I'm happy with it. So that's where that is. That's a mix of Gentle Arts, Weeks, and DMC as charted. Okay, and the last piece that I've been working on, and this is my big one, is the Jade Van Sambler by iStitch Designs. You can find this by her website. She has another one coming up that's going to start in the beginning of the year. Rose, I believe, is the color of choice, but you can stitch these in any color you want. I have two of her samplers going right now. I have this one, which is Jade, and then I have Denim, which came out this year. Next week is the final release mystery pattern. There's 30 weeks total. So, and I'm on that one, I'm on like week 6. I've been focusing a little more on this one to try to get this done first. This is on banding. It's 27 count banding. So it's 2 threads over 2. And I think my colors wound up being pretty jade-like. I'm pretty happy. They are overdyeds and in a mix of greens by Amaranthine Stitch on Etsy. I am currently on week 14 down here, just finishing up the WXYZ. Week 15 is numbers down there, and this is big. So I will unroll this to the beginning. I'm not going to take it off the frame because it's still pretty, still a lot to do, but this is what it all looks like so far. So I started this in mid-January last year when the pattern began getting released. It's released one section a week every Friday, and I am just kind of coloring it as I feel like it, and I think it's coming out really, really well. But yeah, it's about 3 feet long so far. It's going to be about 6 feet long by the time it's done, just for the heck of it. This is the piece that I have my Lowry frame for, and I don't know what these frames I got like from a freebie table at Celebration or something, so I don't know what brand they are, but they're nice and solid and work out beautifully. Hey Tobe, how you doing? You doing okay? Yeah, you're having a sleepy day. But that's where I am on that one. And I've got about 300 stitches to do on this in backup, so I'll definitely finish week 14, probably a good chunk of week 15, and yay! So that's where I am on my stitching. As far as upcoming plans, I'm really just going to be plugging through what I've got in stash for right now. I do have the Supernatural stitch along from Witchy Stitcher, which I'm itching to get started. I may wait on that and start that while I'm at Stitching at the Farm in November with a couple of my friends. We shall see. I might give in and start that earlier. I'm not sure yet. I think I've got the fabric ready to go for that. I definitely have the black because I have a Cone of Doom. I would like to start a Bella Filipina. I'm thinking of Bellatrix because I have that here with all the beads. But that again, I may not do that until the beginning of the next year because I really do just want to get stuff finished that I have in my stash, or at least progress it a bit so I can justify starting anything. And that's my plan for the rest of the year. So I guess that's it for now. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of your summer or your winter if you're on the other side of the world. And I'll see you next time. Bye.